Hello friends! We're counting down to the holidays with 12 days of Christmas drawings. The goal of this mini-series is to kickstart a daily habit of painting in Procreate in a fun, low-pressure way. So I invite you to grab your pencil, get comfy, and draw along with me. Today we're going to paint this festive front door. Let's first create a new canvas, and I have mine set to 4,250 pixels wide by 3,200 pixels tall at 300 dpi. These are essentially the dimensions of the iPad, so the canvas should fit your screen. If you don't have enough storage on your iPad for a file this large, you can use the pre-formatted screen size canvas, which will give you the same aspect ratio, but at a smaller size and lower resolution. Here's a quick peek at my sketching process. There are so many options for front doors. I tried a few different things before I finally landed on a direction. Feel free to put your own spin on the style of the door, or you can skip the sketching process altogether because I created a template for you which you can use as a guide for the painting. There's a link in the description for the free download. And I just want to mention, with the downloads, you'll also receive a color palette which you can import directly into Procreate. The palette includes the base colors that I'll be using, but you'll often see me incorporate other colors as well. Feel free to add to or adjust the base palette as you see fit. I'm going to use a template instead of my sketch, so let's import that. First, I'm going to turn off my sketch. Then go to the Actions menu, tap Add, tap Insert a Photo, and if you already downloaded and saved the template, find it in your camera roll and tap to import. Go to the template layer, tap the N, and change the blending mode to multiply. Then reduce the opacity so the template is transparent. We're going to be using two brushes for this drawing, so let's select the first one. Open up the brush library, go to the Basics set, and choose Jagar. Create a new layer, drag it below the template layer, then choose Red from the palette. We're going to ink the front door, and to make it quick and easy, let's use the Symmetry tool. So go back to the Actions menu, tap Canvas, turn on Drawing Guide, then tap Edit Drawing Guide. The Drawing Guide defaults to the 2D grid, so we need to go down to this menu, then switch the mode from 2D grid to Symmetry. The vertical guide should line up with the center of the door on the template. If for some reason the alignment is off, you can use this blue node to drag the line into a different position. I've got an entire video explaining all the Symmetry tool features, which I'll link to in the corner and in the description below. Now you'll see that Assisted appears on the new layer we created, which means we're using the Drawing Assist feature in Symmetry mode. Go ahead and outline that door, and make sure the shape is fully enclosed so that you can drag the swatch to drop fill. Create a new layer, make it a clipping mask, then turn on Drawing Assist. Choose the deep red from the palette, and we're going to ink all the lines on the door. I've got my brush set to about 15% here. Remember that even if part of the lines will be hidden, go ahead and complete those shapes. Also, to make perfectly straight lines, start your line freehand, then keep your pencil down, and the quick shape feature will kick in, and it'll snap to a straight line for you. And if you keep your pencil down, you can also adjust the length or angle of the line. Like I mentioned in the stamp tutorial, it can be tricky to draw directly on the center guide. So let's turn off Drawing Assist, drop the brush size down to about 2%, then draw the center line on the door. Again, you can keep your pencil down so that the quick shape feature kicks in. Create a new layer, and we don't need Drawing Assist this time because we're just inking the doorknob on this layer. Choose a color for the knob, and go ahead and ink that oval. Then choose a slightly lighter color to add a little highlight. Turn the template off to see how it's looking. And I actually think I could use a little shadow. So turn on Alpha Lock on that layer. Choose a darker version of whatever color you used for the knob, and then add a line of shadow. Now you can select all three of those layers and group them. Let's move on to the door frame. Create a new layer, turn on Drawing Assist, choose the icy blue from the palette, and you're going to outline the entire shape of the door frame. We're not going to worry about any of the details yet. We just want to create one large shape. Make sure to include this section at the bottom as well. You're also going to draw a line to connect the two sides so you create a fully enclosed shape. Then you can drag the swatch to drop fill. Obviously, we don't want this to be in front of our door, so go ahead and drag that layer below the door group. Now let's ink the steps. Create a new layer. Make sure to drag this layer above the door group. Then turn on Drawing Assist. Choose the grayish blue from the palette and create one outline for all three steps. Again, we'll add the details later. Once you have a completed shape, go ahead and drop fill. All right, those basic shapes are complete. Now we can add a little shading and texture. Tap on the door frame layer, create a new layer above, and make it a clipping mask. Turn on Drawing Assist, and we're going to stick with the grayish blue from the palette. We're also going to switch to a different brush. So open the brush library, go to the Pencils set, and choose Swansea. First, we're going to add a little shadow on the stacked column detail. And then we can add some shadow here on the molding detail on the arch. The Jagar brush has a really nice, clean, flat look to it, so it's a nice contrast to add the shading with a more textured brush. Don't forget to add a little shading to the base of the column as well. Okay, when you're done, select the two door frame layers and group them. Now you can tap on this little arrow to open up the door group, then tap on the clipping mask with the door trim details and create a new layer above it. Make the new layer a clipping mask as well. Choose the deep red, bump the brush size all the way up to 100%, and we're going to switch to a really loose grip so that we're using the side of the pencil tip. And we're going to add a grainy shadow along the right side of the door. Make sure to use a light touch because we don't want it to be too heavy-handed. And you can let it curve slightly at the top so it follows the curve of the door. While we're here, we can add a few lines of shadow along some of the door trim detail as well. You may need to drop your brush size down a bit for this. Now let's go to the steps layer, create a new layer above, and make the new layer a clipping mask. Turn on Drawing Assist, and make a darker version of the grayish blue. We're going to add a little shading to the bottom of each step to separate them. Keep in mind that some steps will have snow on them, and part of this right side will be covered by the package, so make sure your shading extends a little beyond those objects so it can still be seen. Now create a new layer above the shading. Choose a color that's almost white. I'm going to make a lighter version of the icy blue. And we can add the snow to the steps. And let's add the mounds of snow on the ground as well. Now you can select the 3 steps layers and group them. Let's ink the wreath next. We're still using the Swansea brush. We're going to create a new layer, Turn on Drawing Assist and choose the light green from the palette. Outline and fill the wreath. And it's best to fill manually so that you maintain the texture of the brush. Now switch to the mint green, and you can add a few marks here and there for a little detail. I'm doing this on the same layer. Create a new layer above, change the color to spruce. Then we're going to go to the recent section in the brush library and switch back to the Jagar brush. Now outline the entire ribbon shape. And we're not using Drawing Assist for this because the ribbon is not perfectly symmetrical. When you're done with the outline, drag the swatch to drop fill. Now let's turn on Alpha Lock on that layer, change the color to Holly, then add a few details like the shadow on the ribbon loops, a little shadow on the knot, and along the ribbon ends. When that's all done, you can select the two wreath layers and group them. Create a new layer, choose a color for the plant pot, then outline and fill that shape. Make sure to make the shape a bit longer than what you see on the template. You'll want the bottom of the plant pot to sit below this mound of snow. Turn on Alpha Lock on that layer. Go to the recent section and switch the brush back to Swansea. Create a darker version of whatever color you used, then add a little curved line of shadow along the right side. Again, you can use the side of the pencil to really bring out the grain of the brush. You might need to turn the template off so you can see more clearly. Now turn the template back on, then create a new layer and drag it below the planter layer. Change the color to spruce, then ink the mini tree. When that's done, select the plant layers and group them. Then drag that group down so it's below the steps and snow group, because we want the planter to be partially hidden behind the snow. All right, let's move on to the packages. Create a new layer, then drag it to the top of the painting layers so it's right under the template. Choose a color for the first package, switch back to the Jagar brush, then outline that shape. Now remember, even though some areas are going to be hidden, we're going to create an entire enclosed shape. Then drag the swatch to drop fill. Turn on Alpha Lock, switch back to the Swansea brush, create a darker version of that color, and add shading to the top of the package. You can add a little shading to the right side as well. And maybe even these areas that'll be slightly behind the snow. Create a new layer, make it a clipping mask, then choose a color for the stripes. If you don't have enough layers available, you can always just add the stripes on the same Alpha Lock layer. Now these stripes on the right side will be in shadow, so we can turn on Alpha Lock, choose a slightly darker color, and then darken the stripes on this side. As you can see, the snow should be in the foreground here, but we're not going to drag this layer below the snow layer because then the package would also be hidden behind the step. So in this case, it just makes more sense to erase. So select the eraser tool and make sure it's set to Swansea. Go back down to the package base layer and erase the sections of the package that are meant to be hidden by the snow. All right, on to package number 2. Create a new layer, switch back to the Jagar brush, choose a color for the second package, and outline and fill that shape. Go to the Recent section, switch back to the Swansea brush, then choose a color for the ribbon. Then we can ink that as well. Now I'm doing all of this on the same layer, but if you prefer, you can create a new layer for the ribbon so that the two are separate. The last thing we're going to do is create the lines on the wall. So create one more new layer, turn on Drawing Assist, and choose the Icy Blue from the palette. Then we're going to drag this layer to the bottom of the layer stack. We're still using the Swansea brush, and we're going to draw lines to indicate the wooden planks on the house. Now the lines don't have to be perfect. I'm not using the quick shape feature, I'm just drawing these freehand, but they should be fairly straight. Now you can turn off your template, go back to the Actions menu, tap Canvas, and then turn off your drawing guide as well. And we're all done. There's our festive front door. I hope you had fun with this process, and I hope you'll join me for all 12 days of this holiday painting practice. There's a link in the description for where you can download the free drawing templates and get a peek at all the drawings we'll be creating for the next 12 days. I've also added a link to the 12 Days of Christmas Drawings playlist so you can easily find all the content in this series. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.